Hi, my name is Courtney Caraway and I did my major project over the country Sudan. First, we will be discussing how food availability and intake are influenced by the following objectives. The first of which is the history and religion of Sudan. Sudan was part of two civil wars, one being the North versus the South, and the second one being against the Central Sudanese government and the Sudan People's Liberation Army. Because of the civil wars happening within 10 years of each other, Sudan did not have much time to regain their strength as a country. This led them to being one of the poorest countries in the world. Since they were a very poor country, that meant food availability would become difficult for them. In 2011, Sudan had more than 6 million people that did not have enough food to sustain themselves. The main religion in Sudan is Muslim. 95% of people living in Sudan do practice the Muslim religion. Because of this, they do have some restrictions on what they can and cannot eat. For example, swine, birds, and alcohol. Next is the education and literacy rate and potential impact on economic factors. The geographic factors that affect the foods. Sudan is a very agriculturally focused nation, with farming accounting for 34% of their GDP and 90% of their exports. Sudan's economic status makes it difficult to afford a lot of imports from other countries, so what they grow is the foundation for many other foods. They also grow a variety of crops, including wheat, millet, corn, rice, oilseeds, and many more. Some of the traditional health beliefs in the Sudanese culture is that they believe diseases and illnesses result from evil and witchcraft. The belief in supreme beings and supernatural existence in relation to health is still widely accepted by the Sudanese people. The traditional Sudanese people use the resources they have available to them to create remedies for illnesses rooted in their holistic and spiritual approach to health. Predominant communication styles. The predominant communication style that would categorize Sudan is high context. They use formal language to show as a sign of respect. Nonverbal cues are also really important in the Sudanese culture. Indirect communication can be considered as polite, and eye contact is extremely encouraged. Now we will discuss the description of food habits. So a few common foods in this culture, including corn secondary foods, are really consisted of stew, salad, and a sweet dessert. A lot of the meals in Sudan reflect both Middle Eastern and African style dishes. A very common meal eaten in Sudan would be millet, which is a type of wheat that is commonly prepared as porridge. The main staple of Sudan is a type of bread that they call kisra, and this is made of dura or corn. There are a few different flavor principles in Sudan, and these consist of red pepper, garlic, and normal pepper. Other spices can be used as well, but these are the main ones. They also will use onion to season their food as well. The typical meal patterns for the Sudanese culture can range from eating cereals to fruits and to vegetables. They can depend on different cereals to provide them with the source of protein. Sudan suffers from a severe problem of food and nutrition insecurity. Because of this, meat and fish are pretty limited. A common meal that is eaten on a regular basis is also a type of stew. As you can see in the picture, a stew is included. Each meal pattern will contain a source of vegetable and a cereal. A common preparation method for the Sudanese culture is that most meals will be prepared on a bonfire because grilling food is very popular in Sudan. Sudanese dishes really illustrate the typical African food that may be consumed. Vegetables are also very common to be included in meals. Most Sudanese prepare vegetables in a salad with the vegetables chopped, but they will also grill vegetables as well. Vegetables are very common because it comes from a lot of the crops that they grow. There are several holidays and celebrations in Sudan where the food that they eat for the specific occasions always stay the same. One of these celebrations is the Feast of the Great Sacrifice, and it is customary to kill a sheep and to give part of the meat to people who cannot afford it themselves. It is also common to prepare a big meal full of meats, vegetables, and starches for other special occasions. Another celebration that they have is the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad. This is celebrated by eating sweet desserts such as pink sugar dolls and sticky sweets made from nuts and sesame seeds. Historical food preservation used by Sudanese is fermentation. Common foods that are fermented are millet, meats, fish, and milk. Once the milk is sour, it is then used to churn butter. Fermentation is known to last for a longer period of time, so this is why it is most popular in Sudan. When it comes to dining etiquette, it is extremely uncommon for men and women to eat a meal together. Children, men, and women may also eat in separate groups. The people of Sudan only eat with their right hand regardless of if they are using a utensil or not. Utensils can be made out of hollow bottles. An unusual food habit of the Sudanese culture is that no matter what, pork or alcohol will not be served at a meal. A large percentage of African Americans in Sudan have a poor diet and low intakes of dairy products, vegetables, fruits, and grains. The problem is that people may not be getting enough nutrients. This can lead to malnutrition. Like any type of food, there are parts of it that are nutritional to the body. Lastly, we'll be discussing the evaluation of food habits. One of the major health problems in Sudan is malnutrition. Lack of resources and a heavy dependence of agriculture are two of the long causes for this. On the opposite end of this spectrum, obesity, heart disease, and diabetes have become a main health concern in the recent years as well. The food habits are related to malnutrition in this culture because they do not have the accessibility to get food. Researchers are seeing malnutrition, but they also see diseases to other extremes, such as obesity, heart disease, hypertension, and diabetes. Some food habits that should be encouraged are their intake of vegetables and also the cereals that have protein in them because this can give them energy to fulfill their daily needs. Local foods should also be encouraged in the Sudan culture because they do not have preservatives in them. Some current food habits that should be modified or limited is how their diet is very grain heavy and they need to cut down on the carbohydrate intake and focus more on the protein intake. Adding some variety in the form of vegetables or animal protein can positively impact their health. So when people come to the United States, their food habits can change drastically. There will be more accessibility to different nutrients and sources of protein that they may not have had in Sudan. This could help lower the chance of people developing malnutrition. Also, a food habit that has the chance of changing is how often they would eat not only meals but snacks. Food is everywhere in the United States and is very accessible. You can get food from a grocery store, fast food, or even a gas station.